Hello, my sweeties, and welcome back to another episode of Oh My Anime Podcast. This is your host, Mimi Hime, and today's topic will be about long anime titles. Why did they start and when did they start? I will be giving you a brief history because, heck, I was curious and I thought, hey, maybe you're curious too. So, with that, let's jump right in. So it was around 2015 that I started to realize that all anime titles were starting to sound like Panic at the Disco music titles. I mean, seriously, every time I watched a new anime, it felt like I was saying a complete sentence. One example would be, I can't understand what my husband is saying. Yes, that's the title to an anime. I loved the anime, but when I would tell people the title, they'd be like, well, what's the title? That's the plot of the series, but is that really the title? Yes, that's really the title of the series. I can't understand what my husband is saying. It's crazy. And then the more I thought about it, I realized that a lot of the really popular shows we were watching, the titles were becoming so long that most of us know the name of the series by its abbreviation and not the full name of the show. For example, can anyone really tell me the full name and title of Konosuba? Do you know that it's Konosubarashi Sekai ni Shuku Fuku wo? Give blessings to this wonderful world? No, I only knew it by Konosuba. How about Anohana? Everyone knows Anohana. Do you know the full name? Ano hi mita hana no namae o boku tachi wa mada shiranai. That is a mouthful, and just for the English speakers out there, that translates to, we still don't know the name of the flower we saw that day. Crazy. Well, I acknowledge that just because I realized that titles were becoming longer in 2015 doesn't mean that's when it started. And also, because it started, just because I think it's ridiculous, surely there has to be a reason why all of these titles became excessively long. So I decided to do some research. Now, it wasn't a novel question. Google obviously had answers. Answers that because people started asking this question, 2 to 5 years ago. So I ended up finding out that the root cause of all of this was light novels. This one guy decided he was going to give his light novel a super long title because he wanted his book to stand out. The guy's name is Pan Tachibana. And he decided to essentially give the title of his book a really long name because he wanted it to stand out from all the other books. Little did he know that by doing this, he was going to start this crazy trend. But the essential why of it was, hey, if people are looking through dozens and hundreds of books when they're going through the bookstore, and, my books were getting overlooked, my title covers weren't interesting enough, or the title wasn't interesting enough. So I thought, okay, if I can't get people to look at the back excerpt about what the book is about, I can't get them to pull the book out and look at the cover. What I can get them to do is look at the title on the spine of the book. So what he decided to do was put the plot of the book in the title. Obviously, to do that, the title would need to be excessively long, much longer than any of the other books that were out at that time. So, he does this and it takes off. I mean, it is crazy how fast this takes off, and suddenly everyone is doing this. And this dates back to 2012 as to why he started doing it, but titles were becoming longer since 1975. And when I say since 1975, I mean, I ended up finding this really cool chart that tracked the characters of titles in light novel series. And what I found was back in 1975, the average length or character length of a title on a Japanese light novel was only 12 characters. And so then between the 70s and the 80s, we kind of creeped between 12 and essentially the mid 30s. From the 80s into the 90s, we bumped it up a little bit. We started going into the lower 40s. However, once we get into the 2000s, we start to skyrocket. We go from, 51, and then by 2005, we have light novels that are 62 characters long. When you think about a character or a book chapter having 62 characters when back in the 70s we were only at 12, that's already a massive leap. And when I'm saying characters, you guys, I'm not talking, English characters. I'm talking about the Japanese hiragana, katakana, and kanji. That's how many characters we're talking here. That's a lot of words. And I mean, that's not even the worst of it. By the time we make it to 2014, that's when, although he is a high school boy and a popular light novel writer, he is a younger classmate and is strangled by a girl who is a voice actor. Number 2, Time to Play, Bottom. That's when that series came out, and that came in at a whopping 76 characters. Now, I'm sure you're now wondering, okay, we've got long light novel titles, but surely they're not that bad. They're kind of funny. No. In 2016, Yuta Tanaka wrote a novel for Denki Bunko. The entire novel consisted of a 196-page long title. You heard me correctly. The entire novel is just the title of the book. And I looked everywhere to see if I could find the entirety of this novel. I couldn't find it. If any of you can, definitely send it my way. But the light novel's title is abbreviated to Nagai Taitoru, which literally translates to long title. I was able to find the first 10 pages of the title in English, and they are: my life is just as wrong as I expected after traveling to another world where I'm surrounded by cute girls at a magical high school and am also the fabled hero of legend. But before I tell you that story, I have to tell you this story in which I was walking along with my unbelievably impossibly cute younger sister who doesn't like me at all, and she said to me it was my fault she wasn't popular no matter how she looked at it, as we walked to school together, and we stopped to look at a garden which had a flower whose name I don't remember, when suddenly a portal opened up to another world, and when I landed in a field and my face was buried in the largest pair of boobs I'd ever seen, and my sister hit me and called me an idiot while blushing. But then the girl I landed on saw the birthmark on my hand and gasped, and she grabbed my hand and I blushed. But she started dragging me away, and my sister got mad and chased after us, and I asked where we were going, and she said she was taking us to Grimheart Magic School, where she was the school president. And then I gasped because I was now in a magical world. And when we got to the school, which was a giant castle, I asked the girl what her name was, and she said it was Akane Yusha, which I thought was a tad strange since she had blonde hair and blue eyes, and the entire aesthetic of the school seemed very ancient European. But I forgot about all of that when she told me we needed to see the headmaster, because she had been taught that the mark on my hand was the symbol of the reincarnation of the legendary dragon hero of legendary literature. And I said that was a cool thing to be taught, because at our school the only book we learned was Atlas Shrugged. And she asked what that was, and I told her I was the book our society based its philosophy on a speech from, and she asked me to recite the speech, which I did, and the speech went, "For 12 years you have been asking," and I'm kidding you not, I had to take a breath there a few times because there's just commas. That was one long unending sentence. That was the first 10 pages of the title. Nagai Taitoru, once again written by Yuta Tanaka. So, okay, we've figured out that essentially 2014 was the turning point of light novels having having ridiculous titles, and anime essentially followed suit. So, I mean, with that being said, how long do you guys think is too long for a title? I mean, do you guys like the fact that the plots are in the title? Does it, now that it's so prevalent, do you think that, anime writers and publishers and manga, writers need to figure out a new angle? Personally, I think so. I am just so overwhelmed by these titles. And honestly, if I can't remember the name of a show, it's really hard for me to recommend it because, once again, not all shows have an agreed upon abbreviation. Not everything has something that rolls so easily off the tongue like Konosuba or Anohana. It's just not the case. And so when you have these shows that are just so long, like that time I got reincarnated as a slime, I mean, it just becomes so repetitive and so redundant, and it's so long that, once again, it's just too hard to remember, especially if you have multiple shows in the season that have super long titles. So I mean, that's really all I've got for you guys today, and I really would love to hear back from you guys about, what show do you love that has a super long anime title? Are you reading any light novels that have a ridiculous number of characters in its title? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I just want to know. But anyway, thanks for listening. And remember to do something randomly sweet today. I love you. Thanks for listening. Bye bye now.